Out west, they enjoy regional favorites, such as refreshingly patriotic Nuka-Cola VICTORY.
Hey there, fellow vault dwellers. Do you know they have pre-war oysters down here?
These are called oysters? You want one? They make you feel so good.
Anyways, today we'll be tasting a bottle of Nuka-Cola VICTORY as produced by the Jones Soda Company, and then making a recipe from scratch to see if we can replicate or even improve the flavor by following the loose structure of the Vault-Tec recipes for some of Nuka-Cola's drinks as laid out in the Vault Dwellers Cookbook. I made those 4 recipes in a video as well last year. It didn't do quite as well as the Nuka-Cola Quantum tasting did, so check it out after this if you're looking for more Nuka goodness in your life. This is a long-awaited project, and I hope you'll forgive the delay. I've been working on a lot of videos in Tamriel, Middle-earth, and Regular Earth, but I'm excited to be back in the Wasteland again. I've got plenty more drinks to get to here in the Commonwealth, the Mojave, and more, so subscribe so you don't miss them whenever they eventually come out. The reason I'm making this video on Nuka-Cola VICTORY was detailed in the Quantum video. Like they did with Nuka-Cola Quantum at Fallout 4's release, Bethesda partnered with Jones Soda Company for the launch of the Fallout TV series to make an official Nuka-Cola flavor, but this time, obviously, VICTORY. Also, like the 2015 Quantum release, it almost immediately sold out, so I mentioned possibly making a Nuka-Cola VICTORY recipe in lieu of actually tasting it because they revealed the flavor to be peach mango. However, the folks at Jones seem to have locked in and tightened up their production process, as there were additional rebottlings, and I just so happened to pick up a 4-pack at the time. It works out that the video was delayed because it will be nice to have the actual release to reference as I dial in my recipe. I've also been having a hard time feeling patriotic in my timeline for a while, so maybe we can find a bit of that proverbial juice in this fictional but literal juice.
Communist detected on American soil. Lethal force engaged.
The aroma is a bit more peach than mango, but the latter adds a bright tone. It tastes equal parts peachy and mango-y, but the peach is intense up front, while the mango builds to a more complex flavor that becomes reminiscent of the Dum Dum Sucker flavor. It has a very light body and a lighter citric acidity than the Quantum, understandably. Still there, but maybe 3/4 of the amount. Lastly, the finish brings the peach back in for a harmonious 50-50 closeout. It's very tropical and very tasty, like sitting on a humid beach. Before we get into making a batch from scratch to compare to this, let's chat about the short history of Nuka-Cola VICTORY. But if you think lore is boring and you just want to see the recipe creation, you can skip to the next chapter. Fair warning, you're missing out if you do though. Compared to Nuka-Cola Quantum, information on the development of Nuka-Cola VICTORY is sparse but interesting nonetheless. VICTORY was released in January 2077 as a regional exclusive variant, joining Nuka-Cola Quartz and Nuka-Cola Wild in the American Southwest market. Of course, the one East Coast location you could find it at is at the Nuka-World amusement park, just a short train ride away from Boston, where you can still hear a pre-war promotional piece about their regional sodas.
Out west, they enjoy regional favorites, such as the classy Nuka-Cola Quartz and refreshingly patriotic Nuka-Cola VICTORY. Or for those that prefer a timeless root-based beverage, they pick up a delicious Nuka-Cola Wild.
The physical bottle that was released in the American Southwest was a little more plain, but according to a special live report from Galaxy News Network, a rebranding was in the works for 2078.
In other sponsored news, Nuka-Cola is celebrating the success of one of their newest flavor launches, Nuka-Cola VICTORY, with an exclusive redesign release later next year. Students that read over 10,000 books can be part of the Zap It program, rewarding literacy with sugar.
With no other significant information available, my assumption is that the redesign would be the label with the stars and stripes on it, as seen on both the Jones Soda bottle and the rocket-shaped bottles, as found around the decrepit theme park in Fallout 4. Its release date also coincides with America's relatively decisive victory at the Battle of Anchorage on January 11th. 11th, 2077, the last full-scale battle of the Sino-American War. I'm sure the marketing team at the Nuka-Cola Corporation were hedging their bets that this victory heralded an end to the war, giving their new Victory-labeled bottles some free promotion by association. However, there is a dark irony to be felt when finding a bottle in your travels across the nuclear wasteland that was once America. But that could never happen in our timeline, right?
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word.
There won't be anything left.
It's the
War.
Legalize nuclear bombs.
China. War never changes.
Nuking is now legal.
What am I doing here?
Anyways, forget about all that existential dread for now. We've got some soda to make. The Vault Dweller's Cookbook serves as a great guide to establish how Vault-Tec reverse engineered the Nuka-Cola Corporation's recipes without as much radiation, and we can guesstimate the amount of peach and mango we'll need for the Victory recipe by looking back at the amount of fruit in the Nuka Cherry recipe, which was 1.5 cups of water to 1 cup of sugar. The Jones Soda version also lists citric acid, sodium benzoate, red 40, and yellow 6 as additional ingredients. Since the cookbook uses citric acid and food colorings, I'll use both of those, but they notably skip the sodium benzoate on their recipes. Probably too difficult to get in the vaults, but it serves as a preservative rather than a flavor additive, and I'm not planning on storing a bottle of this for decades, so I'll be just fine without. This bottle is also decidedly much less sweet than any of the recipes in this book, so my recipe will try to shoot the gap with a ratio of water to sugar of 1:1 by volume, up the fruitiness, and have a 1/4 teaspoon less of the citric acid than the Quantum did. Full disclosure, my usual vault kitchen is undergoing some unintentionally lengthy renovations. Who knew permits from the overseer took so long to process? This unfortunate setback means I'm gonna have to venture out of the vault to prepare this simple syrup and cook it up on a different heating surface to get this video out in time, but to be honest, it feels kind of on brand for Nuka-Cola Victory. What's more American than grilling your soda?
That's why you don't put water in oil power.
It's actually not too bad out here. Lawn looks decent, minus a couple patches of dead grass from my dog's apparently radioactive waste. Anyways, to make Nuka-Cola Victory yourself, you'll need 1.5 cups of water, 1.5 cups of sugar, 2 peaches and 2 mangoes, diced, or about 1.5 and 1.25 cups respectively, 3/4 of a teaspoon of citric acid, and red and yellow food dyes, which I forgot to include in this part. To make the syrup, combine all ingredients in a pot over medium-high heat, then whisk until the sugar has dissolved. Bring to a boil and, if you're me, wait for like half an hour for it to not reach boiling before remembering that your grill has a built-in side burner that would more efficiently do the job than committing to the grilled soda bit would, and move the pot to that one instead. Once it reaches boiling, drop the heat to low and simmer for 20 minutes, whisking occasionally. Remove from the heat, cover to deter bloat flies, and allow to cool to room temperature. Once cooled, double strain into a large bowl and, if you're me, realize you put the finer strainer on top of the coarse one instead of vice versa, and then switch them. Using a spoon to scrape the bottom of the strainer will resuspend the fruit solids, allowing the liquids to bypass them momentarily. It means it'll drain faster. Once the liquid has mostly passed through to the bowl, double strain again into a funnel over your bottle of choice. Once finished, take the bottle back into your vault to refrigerate overnight. To make a glass of Nuka-Cola Victory in the style of the cookbook, you can mix 3 ounces or 6 tablespoons of syrup with 8 ounces or 1 cup of carbonated water. If you want it to have a carbonation level more similar to the mass-produced variety though, mix 6 ounces or 3/4 of a cup of syrup with 16 ounces or 2 cups of still water in a DrinkMate bottle and carbonate the entire solution for maximum fizziness. I took it back into the vault before realizing that I forgot about all the food dyes earlier because the peaches lent so much color already. However, to make it more closely match the presentation of the Jones version, I took it back out to add 2 drops of red and 1 drop of yellow since red 40 is listed first on their ingredients. If you have it, at this point I would suggest serving this over ice. Given my usual vault kitchen's current state, I don't, so we're sipping this soda neat. I took the cookbook as a guide for this this soda's creation, and it seems like those really need ice to cut back on the drink's sweetness. Because of that, after tasting it off camera, I decided to adjust the recipe by adding another cup of water to 15 ounces of the Cookbook style soda and carbonating again, also off camera in a bit to save time on editing. Now, I would totally put my homemade recipe in this official Nuka-Cola Victory bottle for presentation and tasting because I've seen a few other people making similar recipes on YouTube do so, but the Bethesda Gear website explicitly states non-functional for display purposes only, do not use as drinkware, and the box adds the statement, not suitable for food. As far as I can tell, it is most likely because they aren't using food-grade glass in the production and/or food-grade paints to achieve the glass color. Honestly, that's actually pretty on brand for the Nuka-Cola Corporation's historical business practices, but I'd rather not risk my health for the sake of 10% more immersion. Best I can do is look at the bottle while I sip the soda itself from some less detrimental drinkware.
Do you have no respect for private property, you slimy little commie bastard?
Woo! That's good. It's like if the syrup in a peach mango fruit cup was made into a drink. The peach flavor is much stronger than the mango though, unfortunately. There was less mango by volume, by about 1/4 of a cup, but I thought it would be the stronger flavor, so I didn't think it would be an issue. However, the peaches were more perfectly ripe than I thought they'd be, so I guess it tracks. Yeah, mine is decidedly less mango-y than the Jones Soda version. It's like a peach pie filling with a hint of tropical flavor rather than this one's more equal balance. It's got a pleasant finish though, and that's where the mango really tries its hardest to show off, but is unfortunately outperformed by the citric acid, which is on par with the Jones release. It's also probably somewhat apparent to you as the viewer that my recipe is much cloudier than the Jones one. Also makes some sense because I was using fresh fruit rather than natural flavor additives. That cloudiness also comes with a thicker body due to the compound pectin found in fruit, which is a naturally occurring thickening agent. I could have mitigated the cloudiness and the body difference by using some pectic enzyme, which breaks down the compound when exposed to heat. I have some for brewing purposes, but didn't think to use it until it was too late. If I have time, I might try blending more mangoes with some pectic enzyme and adding it to the Victory syrup, reheating and restraining it, but either way I'll put an amended recipe in the description of this video telling you how I'll adjust the recipe when I make it in the future. If I do have time to do that before this video comes out, Editing Nick will pop in here to let you know the verdict.
How about that guy, huh? You know, Filming Nick seems to have a much more ambitious and optimistic outlook on Editing Nick's capabilities. He really thought I'd be able to get this done by July 4th, but look where we are now. To be fair, this video was almost done at that point, but then I had to travel for a bit, and by the time I got back, the permits from the overseer, aka the City Planning and Development Services Department, came through. I got some work done on that, but I really wanted to get this out still, so I paused that project to push through the final edit this week. Still don't have time to make an amended version of the recipe, and if I'm being honest, it would be nice to make it in my actual kitchen when I have a dishwasher again, but I'll still put my plan for it in the description and go over it in a future Fallout video later this year if I spec into my luck stats. Before I finish my next video though, which is partially filmed, I'm gonna finish my renovation project, but after that I'm putting the pedal to the metal on this channel. I've got a ton of scripts and projects in the pipeline that I'm absolutely stoked to share with you. Also, before I let Filming Nick take back over, I did want to share some tangential Nuka-Cola news. In case you didn't know, Jones Soda recently reformulated their Nuka-Cola Quantum recipe to be closer to the in-game description. It is now sour berry lemonade rather than a relabeling of their classic berry lemonade flavor. However, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a relabeling of sorts. More testing will be required when I actually open one of these, but in 2023, Jones made a sour twist on the berry lemonade in the sour Sour Pucker Punch Pack, where 1 in 4 bottles of berry lemonade were a sour variant, apparently reading close to a 2 on the pH level. The Sour Pucker Punch Pack is no longer available, so I can't pick one up for a side-by-side tasting with the new Quantum, but I can measure the pH of one of these when I open it for a future video and fill you in. Now back to that young, naive filming Nick for some investigation into the somewhat perplexing ingredients chosen for the Nuka-Cola Victory and the drink's broader, unintentionally tragic symbolism.
Despite its peach mango, summery deliciousness, Nuka-Cola Victory is rife with irony, as I alluded to earlier. As far as the ingredient choice goes, representing it as a symbol of American patriotism but using the flavors of peach and mango doesn't exactly compute at first glance. Mangoes, the fruit of the Magnifera indica tree, originated in the Indo-Burma region, being indigenous to Southwest Asia and India, and are the national fruit of India, Pakistan, and the Philippines, while Magnifera indica is the national tree of Bangladesh. The fruit only made its way to the Americas in the 18th century, and its first recorded cultivation in the States was in Florida around 1833. Meanwhile, peaches, the fruit of the Prunus persica tree, were first domesticated and cultivated in China. But the tree's species name of persica was given because it was transplanted from Persia, or current-day Iran, to Europe after Alexander the Great's conquests, although it only became widely known to the English in the 17th century. They're a little more forgiving of varying climates than the more tropical mango, meaning they easily establish and spread into existing ecosystems. This meant that they were the first invasive plant species to the Americas, although they were embraced by the indigenous populations for their abundant fruit growth and easy cultivation. Because of both fruits' origins in Asia, the flavor kinda seems more like a fitting symbol of the other side of the Sino-American War that formed the catalyst of the Great War. Why they didn't use a North American native fruit like blueberries, strawberries, or one of these other fruits, I don't know. Then again, whether intentional or not, it does represent the nature of the imperialist colonial practices that America was built on, and its byproduct of integrating invasive species into existing ecosystems until they're mistaken for native cultivars. A more cynical interpretation of the drink's flavor choices could imply that the Nuka-Cola Corporation chose flavors that originated in the lands of America's enemies in the Fallout timeline as an act of implicit disrespect. Or a less glum interpretation could be that they meant for it to symbolize America's nature as a proverbial melting pot of flavors and cultures, or even that they earnestly meant for it to be an olive branch of sorts. Or maybe they just thought that the flavors tested well in the American Southwest market. Given the Nuka-Cola Corporation's domineering, shark-like business practices and demonstrated lack of ethics behind their cheery facade, though, I suspect the real answer lies somewhere between the cynical take and the flavor testing one. But without more in-universe lore, we can only speculate. And of course, outside of the flavor choices and whatever reasoning went into them, Nuka-Cola Victory is symbolically served with an underlying helping of bittersweet irony when contrasted with the desolation it is now found in. I find myself wondering if this is what victory is supposed to look like. I think there's a lesson in there somewhere. Maybe you can find it while you listen to the rest of the rambling Nuka-Cola segment of the pre-war special live report from Galaxy News Network.
I don't like Nuka-Cola. Personally, I don't like Nuka-Cola. Too sweet. I don't drink it. But it's popular. I have stocks in it. I invest in it. I don't drink it. It's the way the world is. Just because it's popular doesn't mean it's good. Just because it's good doesn't mean it's popular. A can of Nuka-Cola, what is that? It's energy slowed down, right? It's the energy of the universe slowed down, right? What are we? What am I? We are energy slowed down into the form of a human being. All that's about to stop. All that's about to stop. All that's about to go away.
Bleak. Look, I'm not here to lecture you on politics. You come to this channel for drinks and laughs, and I hope I've delivered on that front, despite a couple extra dashes of existential dread. I have a lot of fun exploring the many drinks found in the Fallout Wasteland, their romanticized aesthetics, and the surprisingly rich lore that surrounds them, but by virtue of the franchise's setting as a cautionary tale and a semi-satirical look at the extremes of a nuclear Armageddon through the lens of what was once America, there's bound to be some parallels to the timeline that the story was written in and inspired by. This drink in particular more acutely showcases those themes if you read into it a layer deeper than, "Hey, cool soda!" And the drink's patriotic marketing means some politics were inevitable in the dissection of its lore. Again, not here to lecture you, just here to explore the drinks of the franchises I like with a unique presentation and dive down the relevant lore rabbit holes. You don't come here for politics, and it's not going to be a recurring thing on the channel. All I'm saying is there are no kings in the Wasteland. Well, except for that cult of Elvis fanatics over in New Vegas.
Everything in here seems to be related to the worship of some guy from back in the day. Lord have mercy.
I hope we get to see what those freaks have been up to in Season 2 of the Fallout TV show. It will have been roughly a decade and a half since the Courier met them in their adorably unsettling cyberdog Rex, so I'm interested to see how they've evolved as Lucy and the Ghoul explore what remains of the City of Sin, and how they address the canonicity of the Second Battle of Hoover Dam. Good luck to them on figuring out how to do that in a way that satisfies everyone. Speaking of satisfying everyone, if you made it through all that analysis, I'd wager you'd want more Nuka-Cola content, so I'll give you an update on my plans for projects in the Wasteland. Once the second season of the TV show is announced, I'll be leading up to that with more Fallout drink recipes, with an overall goal that once I've prepared every Nuka-Cola that the Nuka-Cola Corporation canonically produced thus far, all of those drinks will culminate in a grand opus of a video where I make every blend possible at the Nuka Mixer Station at Nuka-World. It will be a beast of a project, but totally worth it once we're there. If you're really just looking for something to watch right now though, I've already mentioned my Nuka-Cola Quantum and other Nuka-Colas videos, but I also made a video trying to decide which Nuka-Cola featured in the Vault Dwellers Cookbook makes the best Nuka-Cola float. It did even worse than the second Nuka-Cola video, so I'd encourage you to watch that one just for fun. Before I return to the Wasteland for a new video though, I've got some meads from Winterfell, Highgarden, and beyond that are more than ready to talk about, so I'll see you over in Westeros for the next video. Until then, huge shout out to my channel members and patrons like IKnewThatWasADog, and the Nuka-Cola float video is here on the left, the other Nuka-Cola recipes videos on the right. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel here so you don't miss future content, or join the Patreon here. Cheers!
Where's the Coke button?
It's right here. Everyone
Right here?
thinks that's the nuclear weapon. If I press this, it's the end of the world. They think it's a nuclear weapon.
Call the fire department. We just nuked the building.
My God, man! What have you done?
Time to wave the white flag and head for the bunker, boys. Let's check on the situation in 500 years.